A very, very good afternoon to everyone who's tuned in today for this session. And a big thank you to InnoHealth and the organizers as well, who've given me the opportunity to speak on this prestigious platform today. So, the topic of today's short discussion or short talk is technology in diagnostics and the way forward and the way the healthcare diagnostics is going to be transformed with the coming in of so many new tools and techniques, and especially the entire medtech, what we call as medtech and now we call as IoMT also, with the Internet of Things and the major changes and the metamorphosis that is going to be seen in the diagnostics industry. So actually, we've always talked about technology and using it in diagnostics and how to actually enhance diagnostics, not only from a clinical point of view, but also from a convenience point of view of the patient or the consumer. But I think it was all talk and no walk until actually COVID happened to all of us. And I would actually humbly confess that I think the past 1 year, especially the second surge, was nothing short of absolute chaos in the healthcare industry. And I'm so glad that we probably we've left the pandemic behind. But I think during COVID also and the kind of surge we saw, I think the only thing that actually pulled us through, even from a lab's perspective, was the processes that we had in place and the automation and the tech that we had already implemented. Why I say that and why I actually look at this silver lining in the dark cloud and unfortunate cloud of COVID is because in COVID we actually realized that with double and triple the volumes and so many COVID samples, and of course a lot of manpower also being lesser in our team, that using things from a digital perspective and having your processes online and having all the automation and tech that you could use actually helped us get through that very, very difficult time. Now, obviously, when you look at diagnostics and when you look at the tech involved, I would broadly divide it into three segments. Most important segment that probably all of us know about is the analytical segment. That is the part of the analysis. That's when the sample reaches the lab. And then there is a segment before that, that is the pre-analytical step, and then post-analytical, that is the step after analysis. So pre-analytical basically would mean uh, when the patient gets a thought of getting a test done, or maybe sees the doctor, gets advice, has a medical issue. Then after that, he makes a booking, maybe through a call center, maybe online, or maybe visits a lab. And this entire process of deciding the test and then going for the test and then finally getting your sample collected. That is the sample collection, the barcoding, the accessioning that's involved, the sample transport, etc. All of this comes under the pre-analytical segment. Then we have the analysis in the lab, obviously, that we already know a lot about, and I'll further elaborate on it. And then you have the post-analytical segment that is very often missed out or not given enough importance. But I feel that once the sample is run in the machine, how that information of the report is traveling to the patient, how patient queries are being handled, how are the patients reaching out to you in case they have some kind of a doubt, or maybe it's a sample add-on, or maybe it's something related to your results and they want to compare it with some other lab's report. So how do you actually solve all those queries? How do you upload your reports on the web if you are giving it through a WhatsApp or you're sending it on emails? So that entire bit again is post-analytical. So I'll take all these three segments one by one. So let's start with the pre-analytical phase of things. And obviously, this is possible in two ways. Either someone has an illness and then they visit a doctor. So when they go to a doctor, obviously the doctor takes time to examine them, see them. Now with so much of teleconsults, also that we've seen again grow throughout COVID, is that a lot of doctors are doing teleconsults, so they ask the history of the patient, and they actually address the issue and then give them medication and probably advise them some tests as well. So again, technology is playing a very big role post COVID. Like you will see, like even the teleconsults, for that matter of fact, have actually increased by leaps and bounds over the past 1 year itself. And a lot of platforms are available online as well, where doctors are available and they can consult you. So in this pre-analytical phase, again, you would also have these wellness packages that the patients are choosing. So obviously now you'll see a lot of these wellness packages, a lot of routine checkups also, that people are opting for more. And what I actually feel through COVID is that the keenness for good health and the awareness of a good quality lab report, I think, has again increased by leaps and bounds. So again, patients are choosing this wellness profile. So in this pre-analytical only to assist the doctor. In the future, we'll also see things like there might be a chatbot that the doctor has. A lot of people, a lot of labs also use chatbots these days that can take the initial history of the patient and then also guide the patient about probably the nutrition that they need to have, and also give those key inputs through an algorithm to the doctor, so the doctor can probably reach a diagnosis faster and be like a doctor's assistant tool. And that's what I feel, that actually with the shortage of doctors also that we saw during COVID, that definitely this pre-analytical space can be further made more robust to assist the doctor in their teleconsults, where there is actually an algorithm working to assist the doctor to get better and more robust history from the patient, and then probably advise the patients also, obviously under the recommendation of the doctor. Then once you have the patient who's decided with tests to get, or you have a patient who then walks into a lab or calls for a home collection, the entire booking process, now if it's through a mobile app, if it's through your website, all this needs to obviously be given a lot of attention so as to give the maximum convenience to a patient. The entire thought process, even in our lab, is that when a patient is coming to you, it's obviously out of compulsion or it's a wellness check. So the patient is not in the best frame of mind. So we need to make things as easy and as convenient for them. And for this, your mobile app and other ways that you can reach the patient on an online platform is actually the best way forward. Again, a very important part of the pre-analytical segment would be your barcoding. Now, a lot of labs offer home services these days, but I'm not aware of many labs that actually do real-time barcode printing. So when you actually look at the level of automation that is available in labs, the majority of errors in any lab might be occurring in the pre-analytical space only. And this is only when the labeling is done incorrectly. So obviously, extra attention to labeling should be given, and also keeping in mind that if at the person's home, now that a lot of blood collection happens at home itself and people are apprehensive to go out, there should be a very robust process in which there is a provision of real-time printing of barcodes at the time of sample collection, so that there is no mismatch and there is no mishap once the sample reaches the lab. Again, in the process of transit, again, monitoring this sample. So a sample is not just a sample, it's actually a person. And that's actually the ethos that all of us in our lab live by, is that even if it's a simple vacutainer that's traveling in a bag, it is actually a live person in front of you. And the person's report is extremely crucial to decide on their management. So how do you actually monitor the transport of these samples, the cold chain maintenance, the exact integrity of the sample? Is it being checked when it comes to the lab? So I think this entire transit process is something that is extremely critical for tech and other platforms to actually address, and so that we can get the samples in the best state and integrity to the lab. Now, coming to the analytical segment again, I think lab medicine is the backbone of timely and effective healthcare organizations and timely management that they provide. So I feel that with the advent of now so many robots, so much automation inside the lab, where you have these sample belts and you have these completely automated machines wherein results, their precision, their accuracy, their sensitivity, specificity, if the correct SOP is followed, it's very hard to actually go wrong if you have the correct manpower and the correct machine that you are using. I think that the vendors that we see that provide us these machines as well are working at such a high level that I really feel that we are actually at a very good space when it comes to diagnostics in the analytical segment, especially when you look at clinical chemistry, you look at hematology and clinical pathology and so on and so forth. And I've also seen personally, being a histopathologist, that there is a lot of advancements in digital histopathology as well. And you have whole slide scanners, and you have remote reporting uh, processes available for simple slides, and obviously complex biopsies that even histopathologists sitting in very remote areas can report. I think it's wonderful the way histopathology and cytology as well has actually taken the path of from simple to complex cases, how to report these. And obviously the advent of artificial intelligence again in histopathology is something that's very, very interesting. Yeah, I'm actually very happy to tell you that it was only a few days back where an algorithm for screening prostate cancers on prostate biopsies got approval from the FDA. And I was reading about it, and it's certainly a very, very interesting step that has been taken by the regulatory authorities, and probably will be very motivational for other scientists and researchers also who are working in the field of AI and histopathology. And apart from that, again, now we are seeing hemat analyzers that can actually screen for various anemias, pick up blasts and other flags very, very accurately in your complete blood count as well. And I think all in all, artificial intelligence, other tools, other robots in the lab are always going to be a very key part of the functioning of the lab, that is to assist the pathologist. Obviously, I never really feel, and obviously keeping my fingers crossed, that they'll ever replace doctors and pathologists. But I think moving on in the next 10 to 20 to 30 years, things are really going to shift towards these tools. And especially now we are seeing so many wearables like the Apple Watch as well, and your Fitbit as well, that on a real-time basis monitor your vitals, monitor essential parameters that you need to measure. Now you also have these glucose monitors. Actually reading the other day about a smart toilet. So this is a device or a chip that's put inside your toilet, and every time when you go in the morning and pass urine, it automatically gets all your parameters in the urine, and obviously will highlight in case there is any aberration in it, so you can go see the doctor. Again, with the Apple Watch also, it's very interesting how I'll tell you a story about a basketball player who had an irregular heartbeat. Obviously, the Apple Watch picked up the arrhythmia and then warned him to go see a doctor. The cardiologist actually later saw him, and he was diagnosed with cardiomyopathy. And in this entire process of his hypertrophic cardiomyopathy being diagnosed, it was also discovered that two of his siblings were suffering from the same disorder. So again, simple things like wearables and how these couple of examples that I've told you have taken the lead. I think in the years to come, it will become more and more towards advancing technology, and even using these kind of wearables is going to be something that won't be out of the ordinary. Again, looking at a country like India and how to actually adapt in the analytical segment, I would certainly say that a lot of attention needs to go to POCT as well, and to have point of care testing, especially in tier 2, tier 3 and rural areas where it is not possible to quickly build such infrastructure to provide such testing services. And that's why I would really request the regulatory authorities also to give more focus on point of care testing. I know that in certain point of care testing devices, obviously accuracy will be a challenge, but to actually look at this from a bird's eye point of view, where a majority of the country is in rural areas, I would say developing point of care testing is indeed the need of the hour if we need to go towards a healthier nation altogether. Again, in the analytical segment, I think if you actually ask me, I would feel that within 20 to 30 years, probably there might not be a single lab that is left, or at least within 40 to 50 years. Again, I hope that doesn't happen. But the way that things are progressing, it's actually very interesting that it might just be a small chip that is implanted inside you, and that on a real time monitors all your kidney parameters, your liver parameters, and whatever blood test you would require. You don't really need to go to a lab or give a venous sample. So that is something that's very interesting, and I would myself want to see how that evolves. And so again, coming to the post-analytical segment, again, it's very, very interesting how it was only till a few years back that there was absolutely no concept. So in the post analytical segment, it was only till a few years back that a lot of labs weren't even giving online reports. But now there are very sophisticated patient portals, and reports are given in every form of possible. And I think that is further, that convenience factor for the patient is further going to grow in the next few years. And also understanding reports. Now we have these amazing smart reports wherein the anxious patient can certainly understand a lot about their test without actually having to Google them, and actually not going to the doctor as in before going to the doctor. So interpretation of reports, delivery of reports, again troubleshooting, query resolving, etc., all these are going to happen through AI chatbots in the next few years. So I certainly feel that technology is something that's going to make us grow stronger and move forward even faster. But certainly with healthcare, we should never forget that adapting technology is actually like changing the tire of a moving vehicle. So it requires a lot of clarity, a lot of commitment, and definitely, most importantly, a lot of teamwork. Thank you. Thank you so much.